Welcome to Anime Nerd. Please subscribe to this podcast for weekly reviews on all of your favorite anime, manga, and games. See you soon!
Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you guys are at. This is your host, Anime Nerd, and today I got a special podcast guest. Well, they're guests because this is the first time they're on my podcast, but this ain't the first time that we collab. I got KT and OT for your reference podcast. Go ahead and say hello, guys.
Hey, guys.
G'day, how you going?
Yep. So today we had planned to do this podcast for, I don't even know, how long has it been since we decided to try to do this?
I'll say maybe a year.
Yeah.
Damn. Has it been a year?
It was around the time of Endgame. When did Endgame come out? Like a year ago.
Oh, yeah. It's around, yeah, you're right. It is
We
around the time.
disintegrated for a while, yeah.
Yeah. And it was originally, so we were originally supposed to link up a long time. Only the big guy upstairs know what happened, and my job, technically. I'm going to blame my job. So we were supposed to do this collab, and our collab is doing it on a show that I love, Erase. It's an anime show. In case you guys haven't seen it, I would definitely go recommend checking it out. I'm not going to try to say the Japanese name. I'm going to leave that for KT or OT, whoever is the better one on pronouncing Japanese name, because I will butcher the name. So, but yeah, so today we're going to be talking about this podcast. I'm not a podcast. This show, this anime show. And, you know, before we start, I want to give KT and OT a time to introduce themselves for those who haven't heard. So go ahead, you guys.
Hey, so pretty much all of our episodes are full reviews of TV shows or movies that we cover. You know, a lot of people like to claim that they speak in tongues. We speak in movie references. As soon as we started our love affair with Anime Nerd and a couple of other podcasters, OT kind of wanted to become an anime-only podcast, which isn't a problem, but we do cover a lot of different sort of things, you know, international stuff, all sorts of lots of fun things.
Oh, for sure.
And if I may be so bold to plug, for our 20th episode, we did an anime special with Anime Nerd and also Savage Otaku, and it was delicious.
It was fun. That was fun.
Mm. And it's
I feel like it was a long overdue. Oh, my bad, OT. Go ahead.
Oh, it's all right. Like, it's one of those sort of, you don't really realize how much you love anime until you start talking about it with other people. And I think our 20th episode on Talking Anime is one of our most listened to date. And just goes to show you the fan base and the people who love to consume anime. It's real.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's real. It is. It's like when you start talking about it, you don't realize how long the conversation can last. Like, I think it took us a long time just to even try to end it because we were just going on and on and on. It's one of those type of conversation that is just so easy and natural. Like, you could be yourself without somebody judging you because you like the same thing. So that's what I like about doing anime podcasts. But the cool thing about your guys' podcast is you guys can talk about anything and get fan base from anywhere. And then eventually if they're true fans, they will listen. And eventually you guys can easily win them over to come join us nerds and talk about anime and stuff. That's what I like about y'all podcast, because you guys can literally watch shows and stuff. I've been trying to watch like step out of anime, but watch like foreign shows. So like I did a whole podcast about the King Avatar, which is a Chinese. I don't know if they call it webtoons because it's not
Yeah,
really
yeah,
manga.
I saw that episode come out, but we haven't watched it, so I can't listen to it.
Okay, well, I ain't gonna say too much, but I know that Netflix have a live adaptation of it, and I love it. So it's like, this is not really anime talk, but I'm gonna still talk about it.
Yeah,
So
and we recently covered Itaewon Class, which is on Netflix, and that was based on a webtoon. I think if it's not Japanese, they have like different terms, right? Like
Yeah.
a webtoon, not a manga.
yeah, so I think that's what they call like webtoons. So
Yeah.
still, it's still a really great show. But let us go into today's topic. So right off the bat, all right, you guys. So you guys know if you guys listen to my channel, I am a big fan of this show, Erase. I remember when I first watched it for the very first time, this show will literally play with your emotions. It was like, it's about this guy. I ain't going to try to give it away without giving too much, but I'm just going to say this, spoiler alert. So it's about this guy who has this ability. I would call it a butterfly effect. Would you guys agree?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay, so it's like so he had this like butterfly effect where he can see something happening and then try to prevent it, but it's like a really quick. And it isn't like it don't tell you what's happening. He just had to pay attention. So right off in the beginning, you see him riding like a little moped because he's a delivery boy,
Mhm.
and he sees something happening, and it's like almost like a deja vu effect. And right there and then it was pretty much, I think it was like a little kid was about to get hit by a truck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right before it happened, he saw that happening, and then he saw what the cause was. He saw a truck and the driver was completely knocked out. I believe the driver died by a heart attack or something. It was like one of those little information that they give that you don't really pay attention to. And right off the bat, the main character stopped it, prevented, and that's when the whole story began. And you start realizing about his life. And then, like on the news, there was I believe a kid went missing, and his mom showed up and was like, "Oh, this happened a while back when you was a kid," and pretty much that's how the show began. Now, so when that happened, automatically you start realizing that this show is going to be a little bit more in your feeling show, because you're going to watch him like struggle to try to save a childhood friend that died in the past.
Mhm.
Now, I'm gonna stop it right there, and I want to ask you guys: when you guys first saw episode 1 of that show, what was your thought?
Like you said, it made you feel the feels. I didn't realize I had so many feels. It
So you're
hit
saying
me.
you're cold?
Oh yeah, it's a cold world out there, and I was quite fine. But it hit me in all the places it needed to hit me, and I think also a good thing as well, because again we tried to do this collaboration quite a while ago. So we watched it for the first time maybe over a year ago, and we watched it for the second time again, and it didn't even matter that we knew what was going to happen. That's how good the story is. So that's definitely credit to this anime.
Oh yeah, and the fact that I think we're different with Katie here, because I felt the first episode, because this is a spoiler sort of podcast.
How dare
right?
you? I said I've got feelings.
No, because we get to see Satoru's mother getting killed, and we're like, "Whoa, this is like within the first 10 minutes of
Mhm.
the episode," and you're like, I wasn't prepared for that, even watching it for the second time.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was when I first saw that. I remember. So I was, because for those of you guys don't know, I'm in the military. So I was stationed in Japan. Me and my friends were sitting around watching the show because they
Mhm.
were like, "Hey, watch this show." I'm like, "Okay, cool." We sitting around. The first episode, we seen his mom die, and we were like, "What?" It was like screaming, like on the top of our lungs. It was like the craziest reaction. We were like, "What is going on?" And like by that time, the show was kind of already like within like 8 episodes deep.
Mm.
So, you had nothing but like 8 episodes to catch up on, which is it's a good and a bad thing. The good thing is you could keep on watching. The bad thing is once you caught up, then you have to wait for the show to release a new episode. And I think the show is like 13 episodes, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
like
one
13.
of it is a filler, so we're not sure which sort of camps you fit in when you watch anime, whether you skip fillers or not. But there is definitely one whole episode that's a filler.
I didn't even realize there's an episode that is a filler. So
Well,
I
it's
think I
a
was just so
recap.
caught
It's
up.
a recap, rather. It's 6 or 7.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think I know what you're saying. Like with the whole thing. Yeah, you're right. You are so right. So, like, when we get into the show, and like on the next episode, once you find out his mom died, and by the way, his mom to me is a total badass.
She
Like,
is everything.
yes, like when she died, I kind of, and when she died in the beginning, at first you didn't get to feel for much for his mom. It's still like, oh dang, his mom got murdered. That sucked. But then when you start watching the episode and the TV show, the episode, that is a TV show. I don't know why I'm repeating myself today. It's so early. Forgive me, y'all. But when you start watching, huh?
I said it's been erased.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you start watching the show and you start watching Satoru interact with his mom, you'll be like, dang, she's a really good mom. Like, she's a badass. And I thought her character was truly one of the best characters. She ain't the best, but she's one of the best. And I wish we would have built up to that before we got into her murder scene. Because then I felt like I probably would have shed a tear.
It's interesting you say that because, like a lot of the time, especially with animes, there are a lot of emotional deaths and some of them hit a lot harder than others, like in Naruto, but we're not going to talk about that today. But in regards to Sachiko dying, I actually felt that because I feel like they gave enough examples in the first episode for us to understand what kind of a mother she was. It continued to unfold in layers on how great of a mum she was. But there are definitely misses in regards to when characters get killed off. And I really feel like that was quite effective because that was essentially, the driving force for them moving back in time. As we see at the start of the first episode, he only goes back about 5 minutes. So he's only making menial sort of changes because even I think one of the directors for the manga that he's doing is like, you need to deal with your shit. Until you deal with your shit, you can't be a proper artist, right? And for the mum to die, he had to go back 18 years to correct that.
Yeah, that is true. It was all because of his mom dying that he was able to go back so far. And you kind of root for him while he did it. But also before that, I noticed that he made he was like pretty much like a loner, kind of like a loser pretty much at the same time because he's working at like a dead end job. He was like, to me, he started off kind of like with what I would say depressed, like a depressed person, because he pretty much his goal was to be a anime artist or a manga writer, right? Yeah. So it's like, dang, you kind of watch him like, okay, the main character is kind of a loser. I'm sorry, people, if you feel like, that's kind of rude. You never know with people these days. They might try to start, rioting because I said he's a loser. But he started off as a loser, and then it's like, you kind of understand kind of what happened to him. And then when we got to the point with his mom coming over to visit, he was like, he wasn't so loving with his mother. And to me, I never truly understand why. Because, from on the show, you see his mom pretty much do anything for her now. He called her a witch, which is kind of funny. Like, because his mom is like one of those people, like his mom didn't even age at all. Come to think about it.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what you call.
In the later episodes where like even Kenya and the other guys have grown up and she looks exactly the same.
I say that's good genetic. He should be happy. At least he won't be aging too bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, you kind of like tend to. I think in the beginning he was a little cold-hearted to his mom, and then like as the story progressed and as he started to remember all his stuff his mom did, then eventually when the ending of the series get there,
Oh, so true.
I don't want to say that part yet.
It's so true because at the start we get to see him sort of, they're not really close and you can tell they've not seen each other for a while.
hmm
Mhm.
And then when the mom does and he goes back in time, you can tell he's appreciating those little moments more.
Yeah.
And their relationship changes sort of.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's when we get to see him trying to do things in a better way, not only to save the girls who were being murdered, but also better his life because he didn't have friends when he was
Yeah.
a pizza
Yeah.
delivery guy. But at the end of it, we saw him with Kenya and all the other guys, and he had a family.
Don't you love how we only know Kenya's name?
Yes. Intentional.
OT is Kenyan, by the way.
Oh, so that's how you know it.
Yeah.
Kenya 1, Kenya 2.
I guess he did. Well, technically, he did have a. Well, he probably didn't consider her a friend. The one girl, what her name? Ari.
Yeah.
The one girl that tried to
one
help him.
place, yeah.
Yeah, he technically. I mean, I guess she thought of him as a friend, but he didn't. So I guess he's still considered a loner. So, but still, so around episode 2 and 3, I'm gonna say 2, 3, and 4, he went back in time. You kind of get a glimpse of his childhood. Clearly, his mom was a single mother. You didn't see his father, but for the most part, it pretty much seemed like he had a good childhood. Like it took him a while to remember what was going on and stuff like that. He kind of remembered, but he kind of didn't remember. And when he went to school, he met up with his old friends that I guess he never hung out with ever since I don't know when, because clearly there was no mention of them in the beginning half. But you start to see how his childhood was, and then you run into the girl who was murdered back then, and her name was Kayo.
hmm
That's when you meet her and you start to see that she was a quiet girl who pretty much kept to herself, because for those of you guys who don't know about this anime, the anime do deal with abuse. So it is kind of, it isn't, they don't show it too much, but there's some scenes that could be kind of tough, especially if you had grew up in that type of environment. So I can understand if you don't want to watch this anime, but it does deal with like abuse and what happened. And Kaya was pretty much being abused by her mom and her boyfriend, pretty much, which that's kind of sickening for anybody to parent to abuse their own kid and then letting somebody who's not the father even do that and hit their daughter and stuff. But anyway, I digress from that topic. You kind of tend to see Kaio staying alone, and remember, so the main character is back and his plan is to try to save her. So you try to see him now try to reach out and talk to her and be her friend and everything like that. So in the scene, what did you guys think about him trying to rewrite past? And so in that whole like episode 2, 3, and 4, I believe him trying to hang out with Kyle and try to save her.
I thought it was quite interesting. I guess it depends, even beyond anime, there's the whole time traveling sort of element, and it might just not be people's, sort of show that they like to watch. So I guess that depends on how much you enjoy that and how much you might feel like the writing is relying on that sort of like gimmick, if so.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very effective, the way that they chose to go back and forth in time just throughout the series in general. I guess just going back on what we were talking about Satoru like appreciating more about what his mum does. It's messed up, but this is what we do as humans. Like, we feel better about our lives when we see people that have shittier lives, right? And
That is true.
yeah, and I think him like, learning more about Kaio made him appreciate his mum more. Because unfortunately, not everyone has breakfast every morning made by their mother, right?
Yeah. Very true.
So there were definitely moments that he was appreciating, and then you'll just see like him as a little 10-year-old crying, and it was the sweetest thing ever. But he was a 29-year-old man that was unfortunately like he emotionally he stopped aging. at that age. Like all of that trauma that he had to go through kind of just like kept it in
Changed him.
limbo
Yeah.
for that. But like 2, 3, and 4 was really interesting because but I'm just telling you, like if I woke up and I was 10 years old again, I would not. It would be game over. Like going through school again, nah, man. That's just not for me because kids are
And
dicks.
but,
Everyone are dicks. Like
but think about it. You'll be on the straight A honor roll list. You'll be pretty much perfect. You're like, oh yeah, I know this.
true.
Certified genius.
Oh, my memory is shit. I'd probably forget all of that.
Oh my gosh, OT.
Like you need to repeat again.
Yeah.
Oh man. But let's so in those I can't remember which episode it was, but pretty much you see him put in like all the steps to save her, and then like at the end it was like the next day she went missing, and she was later found that like when you guys heard that, like I know it was like at the end of an episode and then it just cut off. What did you guys thought about that? Because for me, I was like, what the how he did everything. So what did you guys thought?
Yeah, it had to be a bigger picture than just trying to save Kyle, in my opinion. It was like, yes, you've put all this effort to save Kyle, but it doesn't prevent your mom from dying.
And you're not really addressing what the issue was,
Exactly.
why you came in the first
Yeah.
in the first place, right?
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
That is true. Like, and the thing that I like about this anime is you think it was going to be that simple. It's like, oh yeah, he saved her. And then for it to end like, but the next day he went missing. So then he had to go back again. Like, cause it goes back from the future to the present. I mean, not the future, the past to the present. And that's what I like about it. It kind of like goes back and forth. So you kind of see what he's dealing with from running with the cops, running away from the cops, and then dealing back in the past. And it's like he's working on two ends here. He's trying to save the girl that got murdered and trying to address his whatever issue he had in the past while trying to fix what's going on in the present. And so you kind of run into these two female characters, Kaio and Ari, and you kind of like begin seeing how one and like in the present him, he's like kind of forming not like I would say a relationship, but you kind of would hope it would go towards that end with Ari, the one that's helping him run away from the law, pretty much because they think he murdered his mom, but the killer is still technically out there. Which I don't understand how they say he murdered his mom. Like he didn't even have no blood in that. It was just a nosy neighbor seeing that the door was open.
This whole time, this was the one opportunity she could get.
Yeah, she had to have something because you see this man literally walk in the door, and then you come in, and his mom dead on the ground, and then the first thing you're gonna do is scream and call the police. So I think that's crazy. But anyway, so
But
he's running away.
I think it's also like he probably felt like no one would believe him. And also, if he was detained, he wouldn't be able to figure out why or who or, what was going on.
But there were no prints on the knife. Plus, he didn't have any gloves. He had blood on his hands. So
Yeah, but he's
surely-
like an estranged son. Like we mentioned, he sits in the dark corner of his room doing or reading whatever he's doing. And he hasn't seen his mum for a while. It just, the aesthetics isn't great because he looks like a loner.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, so that, like the aesthetics don't look great of it, and the way that the story moves forward and the way that it goes back in time, I think it was handled very effectively because when he goes
Yeah.
back into the present day where he's being chased, we get to see instances where what he did as a kid back in time actually did affect it, and the date actually changed of the disappearance of Kaio. And that was important for him to know, and he just had to go back in time and do
And
it.
fix it up.
Yeah, the one weird thing though is that when he went back, he said it was his last chance. How did he know exactly he won't be able to
Right.
use revival again? That's
I
something
think-
they didn't explain, or at least I missed it.
I don't know. You're right because he did say that was my last chance. I think he was just like he know now this is his last chance to figure out. I really don't know. Maybe he got like a little niche or something like hey, this is it. This is all you can do
Yeah.
pretty much. Because pretty much I think he failed like twice saving Kaio. It was like he managed to change the date, and then once he figured out that she went missing around his birthday, like that was like I think that's the first time that he managed to change the date from her death, and she managed to see her birthday. All she did was just die 1 year older, pretty much
Yeah.
from it because she died at what like 10, and then the next one she died at like 11. And then I think the next time is he managed to save her by kind of like putting her somewhere else. I can't remember how she died the second time. Maybe she died once. I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure she died once.
Okay, yeah. Then it's the second time that he decided to move her to that abandoned bus. And the killer, which was crazy, I ain't gonna lie to you, I would have been scared out my pants. Where the killer ended up using to store his stuff on that bus. Luckily, she didn't make a noise because she would have probably died the second time
Yeah,
there.
but like if you're using this abandoned truck to put all of your paraphernalia to do all of the terrible things that you're doing, and you see that there's a curtain there, because as far as we could see, they put the curtain there.
Mm.
He didn't
Yeah.
put the curtain there. You're literally there and you're kicking the box. Wouldn't you just open the curtain just to see what's there? Like that made no sense.
Which is true. I mean, hey, look. You're right. That is so true. That really didn't make no sense. But hey, look, for the story, thank God it didn't make sense, okay? I was like, oh man. 'Cause I was tense. I was like, oh guys, she gonna get caught. Cause the way she died, I think what happened was she got drowned in water and then froze to death. Pretty much.
Mm.
I think that's how she died in the original
Yeah, I
one.
think they put
So
her in like a refrigerator and then they put her in the
so-
shed. Yeah.
like that's sick. Hey, just think about it. That's messed up.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, to do that to a kid.
yeah.
It's like it's fully planned. Yeah, I think the term is
Yeah.
deliberated. Like they knew what they were going to do. They had all of the resources and they did it without any hesitation either. And they
Yeah.
also created circumstances in which they could thrive. Enough dodgy people around to get the blame for what they were doing. Because you had the mom and you also had Yuki, who was 26 years old talking to little kids, which doesn't sound great.
Oh yeah, it definitely didn't.
But he wasn't anything to worry about relative to, I guess, the big lead up in the series.
Oh yeah. So for those of you guys who know, Yuki is like as KT said, yeah, I believe he was 26. He's a guy. He was pretty much he seemed like a nice guy, but let's be real, in our logical thinking, what grown man is hanging out with little kids, playing with little kids? That sound messed up. So it was a perfect opportunity for him to get framed from it. But he's pretty much one of the character that the main character kind of hang out with, Satoru.
Yeah.
And he kind of like build a relationship. I mean, Yuki is a nice guy, and I'm 100% sure he wouldn't have did it. But let's be real, if we're using our logic, it's like you a grown ass man hanging out with little kids.
Even watching it the first time, they gave enough hints for you to think that it was him. So
Yeah,
there were many misdirects in this series, which I guess keeps it interesting as well.
oh yeah,
OT and I are very annoying sort of watchers though, because like you said, when pretty much everything got solved in regards to Kaio, we knew it wasn't finished because there was like 6 more episodes to go. So we're kind of annoying like that, where we'll watch something and we'll be very, invested in the story that's going on. But also at the same time, we always look at the length of stuff and we're like, nah, something's going
there's more to the story.
Yeah, there are definitely more twists or more time jumps to go on.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's the one thing. I'm like that too. So I was like, yeah, how many episodes? And they're just now solving this at 5? Nope, something ain't right. So naturally, like they said, it was more to the story. Eventually Kyle ended up getting saved, but then she ended up like when she got saved, luckily it was like due to child protective services taking her away from her mother. The killer was out there, so he couldn't get a chance to take her away because the killer knew where Kyle would be stored at. Because whenever Kyle's done getting abused or whatever, her mom liked to throw her in the shed outside. So the killer took that opportunity to take her and pretty much kill her. So, and luckily Satoru kind of figured out what was going on, and managed to take her away, put her in the school bus, and then when the school bus turned out to be not safe, he ended up taking her home with his mom, and that's why I said Satoru's mom was like a real OG. She didn't say nothing. She knew something was up. She knew something was up from the beginning when he started taking food,
Yeah.
extra food, and wasn't eating. So it's like the mom knew right off the jump.
And she
And
was
pretty
wearing
much,
pajamas for Kaio as well.
yeah, she pretty much like took her in as her own daughter and everything like that. So it was kind of cool seeing like Satoru's mom be there, and that's why I say like that woman to me was amazing throughout the series. It was just a little thing. She didn't get as much screen time as her son, but you could tell she was still there, and her impact and her decision was there, and everything like that. But like I say, dude, thanks to like Satoru's mom and everything, Kyle managed to move back. Move with her grandma, and you kind of get a backstory of Kyle's mom being abused by her husband. So then she took it out on her daughter, and you kind of feel bad for her, but at the same time, it's like that's what you get. You know, you deserve to lose your daughter because you shouldn't be taking her out. If you have some type of issue as a grown woman, you should have figured out ways to get help.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be fair,
So-
the grandma wasn't even in the perfect condition to take her anyway. I wouldn't put that kid with her at all, because she's the one that started inflicting the abuse in the first place.
I'm
She
surprised,
messed up the daughter.
but I'm surprised that Kaio made it like in that
Sure.
particular timeline. I'm surprised that she was alive because they kept alluding back to her poem when she was talking about, being on an island and being far, far away. And it was quite clear that they were drawing to that, like, her committing suicide, and just not existing anymore. And they really erased, if you'll pardon the title. Um, No, but they alluded to that a lot. So I didn't expect her to be alive.
Okay, I see what you're saying. You're right, because she has been, but I think it was only because she was dealing with what she was dealing with home, so she was trying to figure out a way to.
But are
Escape it.
we gonna reveal who the murderer was?
Yeah, definitely.
Even
We
before,
could go ahead and do that now if you want
you
to.
guys have a clue that it would be him?
No, not the first time watching it.
No, I
yeah.
definitely didn't know it was gonna be him the first time watching it. I was like, who in the world could it be?
Yeah.
Because at the end of it, Satoru is saying that it all made perfect sense that it was him. How could he be so stupid he missed it? But looking at it even again, I'd be like, I didn't see the dots. I didn't see any of that.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
no, you go.
I like, yeah, because the first time watching it, I could see how, like, as us viewers, we missed it. It's like, okay, he's this, he's that, he's like always there. And, it kind of makes sense. You got to watch out because sometimes your enemy can be really close to you in a strange way, and you didn't even pay attention. Like, at one point, I even thought it was his friend who kind of picked up on Satoru being weird. You know, that one guy? He's like, you've been acting differently. Why are you trying to save this person and that person? But at the same time, like, he's a kid. There's no way he would do something like that. So he was automatically dismissed. So then I thought it could have been Yuki. But then it's like, no, clearly something ain't right because he wouldn't be saying this about Yuki like that. And like, it could have been anybody, honestly. It could have just been a random person.
Mom's reporter friend.
Guy.
Yeah.
Okay, he kind of did seem kind of sketchy a little bit.
Well, if I can make this like super real for a second, I guess the reason why we didn't, see it coming that it was Yashiro, the teacher, is because we're told to believe that there are structures in place and there are adults that we can trust.
Yeah.
And he was the kind of guy that he was the kind of that guy that like got off on being at the crime scene and being super helpful. Right. So from the outside, it looked like he was being super helpful. He was helping Shachiko Satoru's mom on being able to coordinate this whole thing, but he was getting what he needed to get from the situation, and it was really manipulating it. But as even as like 10-year-old kids, you're not going to suspect that it's your teacher.
Oh yeah, definitely not. Because you think your teacher is supposed to be there to help, be the one to help keep you away from danger from your, if your parents ain't there. Because technically, you spend more time in school anyway, so you would never think that.
Yeah, and I think in many ways, like even with Kaio, like you should be able to trust your parents, but in some cases you can't. Like you think that you're safe in this world and you can operate and you can make mistakes and it not be detrimental. And unfortunately, in this case, and I like that because you can have your fun, light sort of animes or sort of entertainment, but sometimes it's nice to have animes that dig a bit deeper. And in some ways it might hit a bit harder, but it's also quite helpful and it's quite healing. I like the way that we talk about Kaio and how they show it and how she got through like the abuse of her parents, but let's also remember that these kids also went through the shared sort of experience together. So even Satoru, that's kind of the driving force of this show. He saved Kaio that one time, but that didn't determine, they didn't find out who the killer was. The killing was going to continue, right? And
Right.
that's what needed to be addressed in this show, because you saw, like, again, like he was 29 years old, he was working at a pizza shop, again, nothing wrong with that, but he had dreams and he didn't have them realized. And I think, a lot of the time we're functioning, but we're not living, we're not thriving. And I think that's quite a cautionary sort of tale for this series.
Oh yeah, okay. OT, what you got?
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I just think that in as much as we get a lot of anime that's sort of trying to make us trying to escape the realities of the world,
Mhm.
Erased sort of grounds us a bit more, sort of like Monster,
Nice.
where you get to deal with real life shit
Okay.
Nice.
in a sort of anime perspective, where you're so used to watch things like Goku or Ichigo fighting and using powers and superhuman abilities. But here they use a simple tool. The only sort of mysticism in this is the time travel. Other
Yeah.
than that, it's also grounded in reality. And I just think it's one of the sort of best animes I've watched today.
And you thought we were just going to talk about Pokemon, listeners? There you go. Thank you so much for recommending, because I think Erased has always been on our list of like animes we need to watch, and it kind of just stayed on that list,
Yeah.
right? So thank you so much, Animated, for being like, let's do an episode. You need to watch it. I think it was while we were recording our bonus episode. You're like, you
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
it now.
Yeah. It's one of those that is not well known. And when I first watch it, I'm like, yo, this anime people needs to know about this anime. Like when I watched it back in 2017, I think I want to say
Nice
16,
play.
17. I don't know. I forgot when it came out, but it was one of those that needed to be done. Like I'm happy the way it ended and everything. So that way people can finally watch it for what it is. Cause I felt like it was a real piece of art and everything like that. And I felt like everybody should get a chance to know it and get a chance to, experience it. Cause it's definitely one of those emotional roller coaster. Cause you get your happies, your high, your low, your sad. You pretty much got everything in that one. And
There's a live action. Have you tried it?
Oh yeah, I definitely watched the live action, and by far, it's pretty much one of the best live action for a series. Because, like OT was saying, there isn't like no magical aspect to it. It's just real life. So I think it was a lot better than your typical.
Better than Death Note?
Oh yes, definitely 10 times better than Death Note. You guys should watch it. I would recommend it. It's like I think they did a great job with it. There's some parts that are a little bit different than the anime, but that's the cool thing about it. You can compare the two.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, I feel like they did the amazing job with keeping the story to just, you know what? I'm gonna have my people at work watch it. Thank you. You guys just gave me another show to to show them. I'm gonna have them watch the live action one.
Nice.
Mm.
We'll definitely check it out as well.
Oh yeah, you guys definitely. But let's. So for the most part, we all know that Kaio is saved, but there was still people being murdered, and so because as of right now, I think during that flashpoint, he should have been arrested already or caught or something like that. Yeah. So in the present, he got caught and whatever because the killer is still technically alive. The teacher, he was alive and he's still up to no good. I don't know why he just randomly decided to show up again. Was it because he was trying to take a girl from the supermarket again? I think
Yeah,
it was.
I think, with that sort of person, they've always got those impulses, right?
Yeah.
So he might disappear for a while or he might go to a different town, but he's gonna do it again.
Mm.
Yeah. You know what? I think it is. That's how we forgot all about that. That's how his mom got murdered because his mom realized that that girl was about to be taken. And so when she realized that, she kind of figured it out who it was. And like when she opened the door and saw who it was, that's when she died.
Yeah.
So yeah. So damn, that teacher, I hate that teacher, man. So pretty much we're going to fast forward it to. So there's a couple of kids that he had to save. One of them being another friend of his who ended up dying too. And he managed to save him. And then a girl that he never went to his school.
Ava.
Went to school with her. Huh?
I think her name was Ava or Aya.
Yeah, it's something. I don't know. She ain't that important to me. She one of those side character. What is it? What is it? I mean, I got the list name up, but I don't. Did they say her name? Yeah, Aya or Aya, however you want to say it. Is it Ava? Aya?
I think it's Aya, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, he managed to save her, and then another character that was used to me making fun of Kaio was this girl named Misato, and then she was acting all depressed now because Satoru pretty much called her on her shits, and people wasn't trying to hang out with her, so she started being a loner, which kind of been a key idea for the teacher to prey on her. But at the same time, the teacher turned around and realized what Satoru was doing and end up making Satoru be the capture, his next victim. And so what did you guys thought when the teacher finally got Satoru in the car and we realized it was the teacher? Because that's pretty much was the scene right there.
That's one of the
When
best expositions in anime ever.
Yeah. It's like that's literally, if you somehow forgot everything, those pivotal scenes in that car pretty much solidifies how great this series is, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, oh yeah. When he was like in the car and the teacher was tapping, and you're like, oh, here's some candy. Open it up. There was no candy in the glove department. It was just
And I think
one thing.
also at that time, because like we're saying, we think it's Yuko, we think it's Shiratori to some extent as well. Like we think we know who it is. So yeah, we're cool. We're just chilling with the teacher in the car. Yeah, no. and then it slowly, even as the viewers, it slowly starts to creep in and you're like, oh shit, I think it's him. I think
Yep.
no,
Surely
it can't be
him. Yeah.
It can't be. And then, like you said, when he opens the glove box or whatever, and there's no candy in there, you're like, okay, this was him. And then your mind is just unraveling, and you're like, oh my god. And then you're thinking about all of the times where possibly you didn't pick up all of those moments, and it was him. He was always conveniently in the periphery every time something was going on.
Every time he was there, because the reason why we didn't think it was him because of how he helped out with Kyle. So if we did thought it was him for a little bit, we threw that out the box because like, why would a killer help out the person that he was trying to murder? It just didn't make sense.
Yeah, he went above and beyond for Kyle.
Yeah, he really did.
No, but I think they get off on that as well, by being the healer, being the helper, and also being the destructor at the same time. There's got to be some sort of dichotomy there.
Yeah, the teacher was sick.
But
Okay.
going back to when they saw them carrying the groceries because they were on sale, which I can relate to, overbuying stuff in bulk. When when Satoru opened the glove box and all of that candy came out, the mum was asleep, but then she woke up and she's like, "Give me some candy." That is the most suspicious thing ever. Right? Just like this
Yeah.
grown man, he doesn't really have any sort of relationship. Grown man, he's got all of these candies in his car.
That should have been a dead giveaway. That is true.
I felt like his explanation was good enough, though.
But I don't think it was because through the whole series, the mom has been smart, she's been intuitive, and she had this cool confidence about it. She didn't overtly shout, "You're a terrible person." You know what I mean? Like she
Yeah.
bought the pajamas, she made the extra lunch, so Kaio could have it. Like she had been so, and I guess that's a problem sometimes when you have such a perfect character, because to move the story along, they need to not be perfect, at least for one scene. Because I was like, for the mom to be there and her not, she had such great intuition. And the fact that she picked nothing up from that, I'm like,
And I think it's because she was thrown off by the teacher helping her with the Kyle situation.
yeah.
Because I think that happened because I think the Kyle situation happened before they went shopping and overbuying. So I think that's what happened. I think the teacher kindness kind of threw her off because he was already there. He was helping Kyle out and everything. So the mom probably didn't think, nah, it couldn't be this man. And I don't think they was dealing with the murder at that point.
Yeah, but it's just she hit all the right marks. Like she did everything that she was supposed to do this whole series, and she
Yeah.
just didn't pick it up at that moment.
She had one excellent to be the GOAT and she missed it. But it's like, I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess that's what makes her I would say more realistic. Because even though, let's be real, everybody mother for some reason have this like ultra instinct mode where they know you're up to no good. And then sometimes the one time that you actually got away with it, it's just you just actually got away with it. So it's like one of those type of things. So she's just human to me. That's why I think the series kind of showed, even though he called her a witch, because she knew what her son was thinking, but at the same time, that's her son. So she knows the in and out and what he's up to. So it could just be that too. That she just know her son really well. But yeah, when we found out it was the teacher and and pretty much, let's be real, this show could either went two ways. They could have ended with him dying, but end up saving the people, and that would be, I ain't gonna lie, that would be a shitty way to end the series. But at the same time, it was like, I think it was like episode 10, pretty much, and pretty much the whole series he's thinking as a 29-year-old. Now this is where the series kind of shift to it, because he was like 29 thinking as a grown man, and he pretty much about to die by drowning in the water. And then he told the killer that he knows his future, and this killer is sadistic, so you tell him something like that, he want to know. But he saved him at the end, but he was in a coma for like a long ass time.
15.
So then,
Yeah.
that's a long ass time to leave somebody. That mama had to have money or great health insurance. That's all I'm gonna say. And she pretty much, it went from him thinking as a 29-year-old to being stuck in a grown man body thinking as a 10-year-old. Which I thought that's what one thing I like about this series was that it did that, because he was no longer thinking of himself in the how should I say, from the past. He's stuck in the 10-year-old mindset in a sort of way, because he technically, now that I'm talking about it, he technically kind of remember his, how should I say, his past life in a way, I guess, if you want to say it, because he knew bits and pieces.
I wonder when, because when the doctor first asked him what does he remember, he couldn't remember anything. But then once we got to the end, he apparently remembered everything. So I wonder when that happened.
Yeah. Maybe when he confronted the teacher one more time because he remembered the teacher. He pretty much remembered everything that happened up to the point of him drowning,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much. So I think he was remembering that, the teacher, how he saved everybody, and from his, I guess, alternate life when he was 29. Because he, in the end, he ended up remembering the girl, his Ari.
Yeah.
He ended up remembering Ari, but Ari didn't remember him naturally. So I mean, she technically never met him.
At the end of the series, was it 2006 or was it 2003?
It should have been 2006 because Ari was technically of age. Because in the beginning, she was in high school.
You knew where I was going with that.
Yeah, exactly. Because look, I was trying to ship them anyway.
I'm just trying to count on my fingers. I'm just trying to figure out because she was 17, he was 29. So
Yeah,
he wakes up from the coma. It was 3 years before that, so she would have been 14,
yeah,
which would have been a whole nother genre of anime.
yeah. We would have definitely had a whole different discussion. But nah, she was of age this time because he was actually a successful writer and everything after he done deal with the whole murdering teacher and so now I know at the ending there was two people were kind of split. I wanted him to be with Ari, but people wanted him to be with Kaio. How did you guys felt finding out that Kaio ended up marrying his friend?
You start because I'm about to DMX all over this mic. So you go.
Ari all the way. Kyle.
Boo! Oh, anime nerd, don't do that.
I think it's trash that Kaio ended up with Hiromi, a friend. I think that relationship sort of just out of convenience rather than anything else.
Yeah.
Nah, she really put her neck out to save him.
Yeah.
And
she really did.
Feelings were always there. He just didn't know how to talk to her or to show it.
I'm sure he showed it in that nightgown.
Look, I'm just saying, I like Ari from the beginning. I thought it was more. I don't know. Ari just from the beginning tried to put her neck out to help him out. Granted, she was at the time 17. I mean, she only had one more year, so he could have waited. But she kind of went out her way and was trying to be his friend, and so to me, it was like, oh, I kind of want these two to end up together because she definitely. She was a ride and die, and they wasn't even dating.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, this is it.
Have ride or die friends. I think the qualm that I have with shipping him and Ari is, you have different sort of relationships. Not me, OT. It's just me and you. But you have different sort of relationships, and for me, Ari kind of represented him not dealing with his demons. Because he could start fresh and not have to deal with all of the shit that he's gone through. And that's kind of how I see, because Ari's fun and she's light and it brings him out of his funk, right? But also at the same time, he doesn't really need to address what he needs to address in order to succeed and also to thrive. In regards to him and Kaio, it would have been nice to see them together, because in life or, just in watching something, you just want things to fit together perfectly. But in saying that, Kaio didn't, her life wasn't indebted to Satoru, but I don't think that was the case. I feel like it was more, they had such an intrinsic connection together. They really understood each other. Poor Satoru was putting his hand against the baby, I guess trying to determine whether it was his or something. Like some Orihime coming in the nighttime with the bedgown. But I don't know. It just felt wrong that she got with one of the friends. Really? I get that you went through stuff, but really it had to be the friend. And he was the least helpful friend, really. If she had to be
didn't do nothing at all.
Yeah. Kenya was the most helpful. So I guess if she had to be one of the homies, it should have been Kenya. But yeah, I think, and then OT was making a comment while we were rewatching this saying, what did you expect her to do? Wait around? And I was like, work on yourself, girl. You've got all of these years of abuse. You need to work through that. Yeah. he needs to work through stuff. You don't just dive into a relationship and have a baby. Like, you kind of need to deal with the stuff that you do. Because unfortunately, like we see with Akemi, the mom,
Mhm.
she was just repeating behaviors that she saw.
Yeah,
Oh,
pretty much.
Uti.
Well, then again, if you remember what you're doing at 10 years old, you're not the same person as you were back then.
No, but that's not what I'm saying. She went through some shit and she didn't deal with it.
I think she dealt with it quite well. She moved on with her life the best way she could. And that's
Yeah.
the gift she could give Satoru anyway.
She moved on top of. That's where she moved.
Oh my god.
I will fight you both.
Hey, look, I'm just saying, look, with Kaio, I thought, granted, I mean, if he did ended up with Kaio, I would have been okay with it too. But I actually had to agree with OT, like, 15 years, the man was in a coma. I don't think she knew he was going to pass. Granted, she probably shouldn't have went with the homie, with the friend, especially somebody who didn't help out a lot because he didn't even seem interested at all. It's like he pretty much took, I think, only because he was friends with Satoru, that's how he got with her. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only reason, because when you think about it, and it's not, and it might, I don't know, I'm trying not to say this sounding messed up, but technically Satoru, her life should be almost like indebted because of him and what he did and how he put his neck out in his life to save hers.
Mm-hmm.
It's because of him that she got to that point, and everything like that. So it was like, I understand it's been 15 years, so you can't really wait for somebody for 15 years. But I at least wanted to know, did she have real feelings for him or what is? Because in the show, it was like you could tell they had feelings, and so
it was like easy for her to have a baby with someone else, like with the Like there was no turmoil. There was no, I don't know. It just felt like she was rubbing it in his face. Like, did you have to come there with the baby? Like, I don't know. It rubbed me the wrong way.
Exactly. She should have just not bring the baby and like ease him on in. The man just woke up from a coma 15 years just to find out. I don't even know if that would you call it ex-fling or whatever. He did like her. You know what? He did like her. I can understand the feeling of probably what's going on. I can see why you feel that way, KT. I can feel it. But at the same time, I'm Team Ari, so
forget it. He was 29 years old when he was chatting up Kaio.
Oh, so come on, get off it. You of all people? Really?
It was meant to be.
It was never meant to be. Okay. Settle down. That got a bit dramatic.
Hey, look. But I mean, at the end, though, technically he didn't get with Ari, but it was kind of like at the end implemented. It was no other way to me, the way the series should end, but with him running back into Ari. Granted, he had to rebuild that relationship again because she don't know nothing about him.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, there are some, like, you can have of consent, but you can have like an age barrier, or you can have like, you can be from like different sort of ethnicities. But for me, what's really important in regards to a relationship is your level of struggle that you've been through in your life. Like, yeah, you can connect with someone, yeah, you can have a good time with someone, but if you've never experienced any sort of hardship in your life compared to someone else that has been through quite a lot of really heavy shit, then you're never really going to be able to connect in a real meaningful sort of way.
So you're saying they're never going to really connect?
Yeah, they can get down, but like, but, when Satoru is like, when he's feeling that sort of deep emotional sort of reprieve, he's not going to get that through Ari.
No, I think he will. Like, this whole sort of analogy when it comes to discussing multiple timelines and the sort, because time doesn't really change in change situations and stuff.
Yeah, but you don't get multiple women in multiple timelines, OT. I'm sorry to tell you.
You leave voids. And maybe there's a void in Ari and that just perfectly matches with what she's looking.
Yeah, he's interested in her void, but that's not what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Oh dear.
I just look. I think in the end, I think they will make it work. At least, look in my mind, I would choose. I want them to work. I don't know. It's just something about her from the beginning of the series, and then like even though she didn't get as much time as Kaio, and he built up that relationship with Kaio, it was one of those type of things that I could see it meant to be. That's why they changed that the year and making her illegal because trust me, if it was illegal, this show would probably have a different review. I'm just saying.
We'll be behind Yuko's curtain.
So that's why I think they did what they did, which was a wise decision.
Mm.
I'm okay with it. At the end, I'm not gonna lose no sleep. Kyle, she's a homie hopper. I'm sorry.
Yeah, she is. But that was a later attribute. That wasn't really hinted at earlier on in the series.
Yeah, I thought she was gonna be loyal.
She's not loyal.
No one's loyal for 15 years.
Wow. Okay, so we've only got a few more years left. It's good to know. One thing I wanted to mention was Kenya, which was a friend, and he was able to notice like a change in Satoru when he was a 29-year-old as the 10-year-old. Did you think he was a bit too intuitive and it was a bit too mature?
Yeah, I definitely thought so. I'm like, he's 10. What? How did he?
It's like in your nose, like what?
He's a bougie 10-year-old already trying to be in grown folk business. Clearly, he didn't get hit as a kid for being in grown people business. So, because as a kid, he was used to try to be in grown folk business and be like, go, move.
Business, yeah.
I know. Yeah, that's how my parents used to do it. So, but he was definitely smarter than your average 10-year-old because he was definitely kind of he picked up that Satoru was different out of all his friends, and he noticed that he was up to something. Now I don't think he noticed that Satoru came this is the future Satoru during that time. I just think he knew something was different, something was up, and he just wanted to be a part of it.
You can tell he has a high IQ to the point where he was actually advising Satoru on what to do in certain situations. And we're talking
a grown 29-year-old man getting advice from a 10-year-old. But go ahead, LT.
No, you could just understand that I didn't have a problem with Kenya being that smart.
Because his name was Kenya, that's why.
Yeah, I was about to say that because he's from Kenya.
Obvious biases aside. No, he was solid. He was a really solid friend. And the fact that they all stayed together up until the end, it just warms my heart that Satoru sort of made friends that he managed to change his life as well.
Oh,
he did.
In the main timeline, he just wasn't friends with them. You don't know.
They didn't tell us. He was sort of a loner.
No, but I'm saying Kenya and Hiromi, they might have already been friends in the first timeline that we saw.
Yeah, maybe. But I'm meaning more of all them together. As a group, yeah.
Yeah, I think what happened is that traumatic, huh?
Where did the chubby guy go? We didn't see him because I think he
was there.
Yeah, was he?
Oh, yeah, he was there at the end.
He must have.
I think he was skinnier. He slimmed down.
Slim.
But I think in the beginning he was just a loner because he probably pushed away his friends. Because remember, technically, Kaio died and they was never really friends with her. But then the guy that married Kaio, I believe he was dead. He got murdered too.
Yeah.
So I think when they lost their friendship kind of dwindled because it was traumatic, and people change when stuff like that happen.
Sure.
To the current present timeline where now everybody's alive, everybody's happy, everybody's doing fine. He actually got his job, and so now he's a little bit more social and happier where his life has been, especially since technically he remember what his life was as a 29-year-old bum. So I'm pretty I'm pretty sure that's probably what happened. Is they just ended up falling out because of life, and and that's my guess. Cause and then plus the chubby guy probably would have never met the girl that he ended up saving from the other school too. Cause I
I
think the chubby guy and that girl, yeah, Aya, yeah. How I forget her name that quick? See, I'm bad with names, y'all. But yeah, he ended up dating her. I think they ended up getting married or something. They were still dating, but they were together. I know that. So overall, though, series was excellent.
Yeah, it was really good. What did you guys think about the teacher trying to kill himself when he pushed Sotaru off the building?
That was such a vomit
He
moment.
said he couldn't leave.
Ugh.
He couldn't leave in this world without him being around.
That I ain't gonna lie to you, that was weird.
I think what was happening was he kind of found, a nemesis. You know what I mean? He found someone that could, in many
His
ways,
Joker,
yeah, like in
Batman to
many
Joker,
ways
kind of like.
could like match him, right?
Yeah,
And you know, maybe he wanted to continue, or maybe he just wanted to be recognized and for someone to like be able to match him again, like you say, as his Joker. And yeah, it's weird that he came back 15 years later, but he enjoyed that. He was waiting for that moment, that standoff up on the roof.
I
And
think he was paying for Satoru Bill because he was keeping him alive. I think or something
yeah.
because he was like the chairman of the hospital or something like that.
I think no, he was a councilman, and he had close relations with the hospital, and the councilman was also in the pizza place with the manager that actually ratted Satoru out. So I think
Yeah,
he killed that councilman because he said that 3 years later he suspiciously died, and then he married the daughter, and then he became the councilman. Um,
yeah,
he was really looking forward to that moment because I think with a lot of what he was doing, you get like I think he got numb after a while. Like it became too easy
Mm.
for him, right? So I think
yeah.
he was looking forward to that standoff with Satoru. And I didn't see it coming that, he would get Yoshiro would get his comeuppance. I thought it was a bit cheesy, to be honest, though.
Yeah, I mean, they were bound to have some not so great moments, but
With all our powers combined, we defeated corruption. And I'm like, really?
it's not the best ending, but it's one of those type of things. Like, okay,
It was
I'm
for
not gonna let you guys slide like that one.
Ari shippers, so he could be alive and be with Ari.
The show went from I went from 10 to the way it ended 9.99. That's how I feel. Only because of how the main enemy lost. But there was no other way. I don't know how they would end it. Like either I probably wouldn't have ended him wanting to kill himself or be like his life won't live. I just wanted him to get busted and caught and arrested. After getting he ended up technically did I guess self-snitching on himself in a way, but I wouldn't have to go on like that.
Yeah, it was an interesting way for it to unfold, and I think it was the start of the last episode where Yashiro was talking about a story for the hamsters.
Oh, that's
That was messed up. That was some Tokyo Ghoul shit. Like that was
The hamster. Oh yeah, I
yeah.
forgot he did got his own little story and how he tried to drown them and then one of them stayed alive because it was on top of the dead one corpse.
Yeah, and it felt very Tokyo Ghoul, but yeah, obviously that denotes because when they talk about like serial killers, like the first sort of instance aside from bedwetting is like torturing animals, right? So it really denotes to who he was as a kid, and we say that what kind of kid would do this, but like unfortunately it happens across all ages. And then he also gave that story about the spider dropping
With the thread.
from heaven. And
Yeah.
it was interesting, but it was interesting that the thread only appeared with children with him. It was like, I feel like he's kind of just using it as a vehicle for him to do whatever he wanted. But it was interesting. It was interesting to see that he had, as distorted as it was, he did have some contextualized, sort of code of conduct that he was operating
All
from.
the creepers have code of conduct. They have their own.
Yeah, they have this like unspoken code of conduct for real.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but in the end, though, the show was definitely a nice show. Live action was truly, truly amazing. So before we end up wrapping this up, would you guys recommend this show to people who haven't watched it?
Absolutely.
Oh,
You think? I think so. I think overall, it's definitely one of those emotional roller coaster and stuff. I probably even recommend it to somebody who haven't watched anime and think anime is just a bunch of, and for you, KT, like one of those people who think is like titties galore. You know how people always think something like that. And so, see, I told you I figure out a way to input it, but it isn't in that way. But
There was a clip on Twitter, I think, like the other week, of how ridiculous, I don't know which anime it is. I'll need to find it for you, Anime Nerd. But apparently, because like titties bounce around,
yeah,
when you're fighting or whatever you're doing. This lady was literally just laying still, and her boobs were breaking the sound barrier. It was insane.
Well,
So I'll need to go and find it for you, but it was making the rounds on Twitter, and I'm like, yeah, if they're real, they move, but not when you're just laying there. Like,
you know how it goes. Like when I was watching High School of the Dead, like the dude shot a gunshot, like a sniper, and like the girl dodged it, and then like it went perfectly, like, and her boobs were jiggling, and like went right between, like the bullet went right between her boobs, and then shot the zombie. I'm like, all right, now come on, you guys are doing too much, doing too much. I was laughing. I was like, there's fan service, and then there's fan service that's doing too much. That was definitely on the too much end.
that sounds fun.
Yeah, but at the same time, like if it was just one jiggle away, this episode would be talking about something else. Okay.
Sure, very true.
But yep, that's it for me. Do you guys have anything y'all want to say?
We're watching Black Clover right now, and we're almost up to date, aren't we, OT?
yeah. Yeah.
Oh shoot, I've been grinding on my Black Clover too, but I'm pretty sure I'm far behind.
Yeah, we struggled with it at the start, but it's really hitting its stride now.
Yeah, it took about
Yeah.
100 episodes, but like the splooshes are great.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
So just hang on there until you hit 100 episodes. You'll be fine.
It has its moments where it's good, and then it has its moments when it's like, I don't know about this. I can see why some people are still into it. It's good. I like the storyline, but at the same time, like the filler ones, I don't even know if it's fillers. Some of the episodes feel like fillers, and I'm pretty sure they are fillers.
I think the main sort of problems that we had when we first started it was we didn't really care about the characters because they didn't really establish the characters and why we should care about them. And it also felt like we've seen it before. Naruto, Full Metal Alchemist. Like you feel like you've seen it before, and it's not the anime's fault, but you feel like you've seen it before, so it kind of heightens that barrier of entry.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because definitely in like Naruto aspect of it, like Naruto is loud. Asta always yelling. He's loud. Then you got the other guy. See, what's his name? Sasuke. Yeah, Yuno is quiet but naturally talented, of course. And who else is naturally talented? And technically Sasuke is quiet, but not as quiet as Yuno.
Everything Yuno says is cool. Like he gets all of the cool lines in Black Clover.
Yeah, but at the end, we already know who's going to be the Wizard King. Let's be real, because Naruto wanted to be Hokage, and what happened? Naruto became Hokage.
Let's not forget, Kakashi was also a Hokage.
Yeah, that sounds like another type of podcast that we could get into if Kakashi was an effective Hokage or
How
not.
dare you? He was the best aside from maybe with Tsunade, but you will not mark down Kakashi in regards to being a Hokage. I fight with you all the time. He deserves his props.
No, I'm not saying that he ain't, but I do feel like, and you might get mad at me, but it's okay.
will.
I do feel like Kakashi is the weakest Hokage since he lost his Sharingan.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
Plus-
no.
Because Tsunade was a beast. She might not have been the best Hokage, but she can still go toe to toe. She will knock out Kakashi in a heartbeat.
She's better than Kakashi's better than the third Hokage.
No. No.
I think they both gonna battle it out. Kakashi's good.
Up in hospital.
Because he
Every
fought with so
single
much
time.
heart.
No.
He wasn't hot.
He was giving his all.
Look, if the series would allow Kakashi to keep the dual Sharingan, then I would have been like, yes, okay, Kakashi easily would have been beat Tsunade the third and even the second. I would go as far as those guys. Because he ain't beating the first. I'm not going to give him that. And he ain't beating Naruto now. Definitely not going to give him that. But he would definitely probably beat Tsunade. He'll definitely probably beat the third. And I don't think he could beat the fourth either.
Nah, he can't beat the fourth. He can't beat anyone actually.
Fourth was Minato, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Without his eyes, he had only Chidori, which is crap.
And it's not. I don't think it's our fault for feeling like that. It's the series' fault. I'm gonna blame the series because
No,
Kakashi is a great character. Huh?
I'm gonna blame both of you.
I'm just saying Kakashi is a great character, but the series always had him breaking down, tired. Look, and in case you guys didn't know, my favorite character is Itachi. He could do no wrong. Itachi was dying from a disease, and he still was able to whoop up on some Kakashi in the crew. I'm just saying.
Can we at least agree that Kakashi was the strongest than all of the
Jonin?
leaders at the time? Yeah. Can we just agree that? Oh, piss off.
Well, nah, I mean, he is strong. I mean, he was technically the strongest Jonin.
No, don't give me this technically. He was literally.
I mean, but have you seen what Might Guy did?
Oh, but you never want to pin the two against each other. They've got their own cute little rivalry.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll give it. Naturally, so Kakashi was the best out of all of them for the Jonin. And if you had to technically think about it, he was the best man next to hold the position down until Naruto became of age. Because I ain't gonna lie, Kona, after they just seemed like they was just getting weaker and weaker, honestly, when you think about it, because then you had the first, the second, the third, he was definitely like the worst of them all. Like he had Naruto struggle knowing who it is. Like
thank you.
Like I said, the third had Naruto struggling, and like he knew who his dad was. And granted, I understand that he didn't want nobody to know, but at the same time, he didn't try to stop people from hating on him. He didn't try to even help him get money. Like the dad was Hokage. I'm pretty sure they had to have some type of insurance or something for the boy to be taken care of. He didn't try nothing.
Exactly.
So I would say that
Kakashi.
So you know what? Just for that, Kakashi can beat the third Hokage. I'm gonna give him that one.
Nah.
I ain't giving him Tsunade though. That's definitely Tsunade is trash.
She's a legendary Sannin, so
yeah. But at the same time, the show didn't really do Tsunade justice either. She was trash.
They definitely could have displayed her way more.
Mm-hmm. But she was technically stronger than the Raikage. Yeah. But at the same time, she didn't seem like she would be as good as him. She's just only stronger because, she's a legendary Sannin, and then you got to make the female strong. So you got to do that.
Yeah, because if you consider how much Love Jiraiya. But if you imagine how much screen time Jiraiya and also Orochimaru got as the legendary Sannin, just from that sort of screen time, Tsunade didn't
Yeah,
get nearly as much. She didn't get nearly as much character development. She was also the first to implement the medical units as well.
yeah,
She was the first to implement that as well. So she had quite a big influence. And I guess if you know, you know. Otherwise, you probably don't regard her as high.
yeah. She's definitely she. I mean, she. I feel like she did more than what the third did. Cause third, let's be real. I think they went on to. I'm pretty much gonna say the third was like caused Kahuna to have a recession. He made him lost the Uchiha, which to me, killing all the Uchihas. Granted, they was going to riot. Yes, I know. He should have did better to try to not make them feel like outsiders anyway after the second, because
Yeah.
they consider the second Donald Trump apparently,
Wow.
and that's the running joke around America. They said the second Hokage is Donald Trump. I'm like, wow, you guys are doing too much. But
Get some fresh air safely at that point. Like forums at that point.
these people, you know how people are. That's how they're gonna compare it. But the third didn't even try to make it any better, and he pretty much let it get to the point where they had to end up letting Itachi, with the help of Obito, kill the whole Uchiha village. And when they did that, they dramatically lost strength and power easily.
And
To me,
he wasn't in cahoots, but he was definitely enabling those the old man and the old lady, them doing their dodgy little things in the background. He kind of
yeah,
let that happen.
yeah. Like I said, I feel like we should definitely do a podcast about this one, because we could easily go into it before it turn out to be another 3-hour podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
But before we close out, do you have anything to say to your fans and people listening?
I guess just thank you so much, Anime Nerd, for having us on to your podcast. It's very comfortable. We like being in this space. And you should definitely make sure that you're subscribed to Anime Nerd so you can get all of his episodes, if you're not already, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, definitely, because I finally, after a long time, created me a Patreon.
Oh, welcome.
So I figure I'll go ahead and just drop this little tidbit for you guys. So I'm gonna be doing a Patreon. I've been working on my podcast. So what's gonna happen now is podcasts like this and stuff will be put on my Patreon first, and then a little bit later down the line it'll be added on to the other stuff. Just because I'm working with a lot of other podcasters too. I'm dropping one right now at 9 o'clock being dropped. That's gonna be the last one for, as of right now, being dropped on Anchor.
Yep.
And for that week, and then anything else that I record is going to be on Patreon first, and then loaded onto Anchor to be distributed out on later dates, just so it'll help me out produce more content. And I feel like my Patreon account would have a little bit more. Like, I'm gonna do anime reviews and like how I used to do it. I feel like I can do it on Patreon and stuff like that. And then if people want to tune in, I figured that'd be the best way to have more content and add it on there.
Nice.
So
Oh,
definitely. And thank you guys for, being on my podcast. I always enjoy talking to you guys. You guys like bring a breath of fresh air. It's so fun having you guys there and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure, I know it's like 12 o'clock in the morning over there now.
oh, we're getting close, but we're fully energized. We feel great. Thank you so much for having us on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys taking out the time. I know this time's trying to schedule, I'm on one end of the world, you guys on the other. It's kind of hard, but next time I promise I'll make accommodation to be on you guys' time schedule.
That's absolutely fine.
So, all right, until next time, peace.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.